Right, very good afternoon, everyone. Okay, my topic this afternoon will be on the HDB market. I think for many of us is a topic close to home because 80% of the Singapore population actually stays in HDB flat. Okay, so this has always been a hot topic recently, right? Home or asset. Right, and as our Prime Minister aptly summed it up in his National Day rally last week, it is both. We also want a home, we also want it to grow in value over time. Right? We want to buy cheap, we want to sell high. Right? Basically, this is all what we want. All right, so officially, of course, HDB is not for investment, but who wants to buy a HDB home and then lose money? Right? So, my topic this afternoon, I'm going to talk about the resale market as we see it. The latest measures, some of and how it impact the resale market, our outlook for the rest of the year, and perhaps we also spend some time to talk about the hot spots, all right, in the, up and coming in the next few years and the years after that. Okay, we all know property prices for HDB is at all-time high. All right, if you put the graph together, you see this super accelerated growth over years that has reached an all-time high, and prices have gone up by 35% over the last 3 years. Right? If you look at the blue line versus the red line, blue line is the rate of price increase in HDB flats, whereas the red line is economic growth. It is out of sync with economic growth. You can see the gap very wide. But if you plot the same statistics using private property, you'll see that the gap between economic growth and property prices much narrower. So the HDB market has been resilient, right, despite all the measures that have been put into place. Despite the HDB has been increasing the number of flats in the last few years, prices continue to accelerate. Okay, why? So we'll talk about a few things. But the measures that have been implemented from last year till now are now starting to take effect. If you monitor the quarterly statistics, you will notice that the rate of price acceleration has slowed down. So it's like if you are running a race, you're sprinting, and then now you are slowing down. All right. So it basically indicates that we could be arriving at what we call a tipping point. That means the market may flatten and then go downwards. Right. So it is a sign that the market is slowing down. If you look at the volume of transactions, the last two bars, and you compare it with the first half of last year, essentially the total volume of HDB resale transaction is only about 2/3 of the same period last year. That means the market has slowed down in volume by about 35%. All right? In terms of cash over valuation, all right, this statistic you can no longer find in the HDB website because they remove it. All right? But we in the business, we have to track it. Okay, so if you track, you find that COV is the amount of cash that a buyer is willing to pay over valuation, and you find that it's come down to about 27,000 official statistics, but if you look at the monthly figure, it is now about 22,000, right, COV. So it's continuing to come down. Okay, and if these are the different flat types, the blue line, the lowest one is actually the 3-room flats. They are the one who have taken the biggest hit in terms of the decrease, the rate of decrease. Whereas the bigger flats, the purple line, all right, though has come down, you are still hovering around 50,000 COV. Okay, but having said that, it does not mean that every flat is selling at lesser and lesser COV. Those that are in premium locations, for example, in mature estate like Toa Payoh, Bukit Merah, and all that, you can, if you try and walk into and look for something with negative COV or selling evaluation, there's no such thing. Okay, so there will be still, those in premium locations will still be holding their value. Okay, I want to give you a snapshot of the transaction, all right, the taste of the transaction. Now my company, we have over 5,000 agents, and we do about, out of every 10 resale flats that's sold every month, okay, out of every 10, we sell about 5. Okay, so if you look at our transactions, you can basically get a feel of the market because it represents about half the transaction in the market. So if of late, especially in July and August, you find that the majority, or rather 82% of the transactions are done between just above valuation to about 40,000 COV. Compared to about 6 months ago, majority of the deals were done between 20 to 60,000 COV. So it's now coming down. Another trend, if you look at the last two, or the bottom corner, you will notice that there are now more transactions done at 0 COV, that means sold at valuation, and also increasingly some transactions are sold below valuation. Okay, so predominantly because of the TDSR and the MSR, which later the other speaker Alfred will talk about, you find that actually it has been very effective, all right, in clamping down the amount of credit that the buyer has, and therefore it limits his ability, all right, to pay COV. So this is happening to the market. And since TDSR is here to stay, you can possibly expect all right, COVs to continue trending downwards. Okay? So let's try to appreciate the situation. How come the HDB resale market can accelerate, okay, at such a pace despite, okay, the ramp up in new flat supply in the last couple of years? All right? Firstly, it was caused by what we call, in professionally speaking, market imperfection. Okay? Now, some of us will remember that there was one time where places like Jurong West and Woodlands, all right, there was an oversupply of new flats in the early years when they started building. Of course, in those days, nobody wanted to go to Jurong West, but today is a hot place, right? Every flat there you can still sell for a pretty good price today. But in those days, okay, the HDB basically overbuilt in those areas. There were a lot of new flats that were unsold, even completed already 5 years later, still nobody stayed. Okay, so there was a time where HDB was engaging property agents like us, right, to sell these flats in the resale market. Because after 5 years, MOP, all right, which nobody is staying in it, all right, you can actually sell it in the open market, all right, as a resale flat. So those was happening. So since they have such a huge oversupply of unsold flats, what do you think happened to the new flat housing program? They have to freeze it. Okay, so if you look at the blue bars, you find that it's decreasing, right? So the blue bars tell you that basically every year the number of flats that turn 5 years old are actually getting less and less, which tells you that actually they freeze their building program. Okay, but at the same time, another ministry, right, was increasing manpower. Okay, there was and one time you will remember that there were a lot of PRs, right? People who became a lot of PRs. So you're increasing PR only can buy resale market. This side you freeze the building program, you have a supply crunch in the resale market. That means not enough resale flat for sale versus demand. So price goes up. Okay, simple mathematics. The other thing was, a couple of years ago, they have this thing called 60% loan to value ratio. Of course, this has been changed. But this 60% loan to value ratio means if you are existing HDB flat owner, you want to buy another flat, okay, you can only get 60% loan. So what happened? Don't sell, don't buy, just stay put. Okay, so this end up causing another supply crunch. Next, private property owners who buy HDB flat have to sell their private property within 6 months. So all the HDB owners start to think, wow, if I sell my HDB flat when I buy my private, I can never get back into HDB market again. Because if I get back to HDB market, I have to sell my private. So people who can afford it, okay, example, there are many HDB buyers in those days, they bought private, then they don't sell the HDB. So they move into the private, they rent out the HDB. All right, so this again add to the supply crunch situation in the resale market. Okay, case in point, if you go to the stproperty website, you do certain searches on certain projects, you will notice that some of these projects, especially in the suburban locations, you will have a lot of HDB address purchases with HDB addresses. So that basically tells you actually a lot of HDB owner, they buy private. Okay, then they move into private, they rent out the HDB flat. Okay, and show you another chart. This explains it. There is this phenomenal jump between about in the year 2010. Everybody realized that, hey, actually, if I rent out my HDB flat, I can actually get a pretty good return, or at least 6 to 8%. Right? Compared to private property, if I rent it, I only get around 3% plus minus. Okay, so it makes sense. So a lot of people who can afford it are actually doing this, which explains. Okay, next, if you look at the quarterly one, the last 2 quarters, compared to the first similar period last year, you also see a jump in the number of subletting transactions. So basically, it reinforces the point that a lot of people are doing this. All right? So then, how do you then stabilize price if you are the government? You have HDB prices that have grown out of sync with economic growth. You've got people who are complaining that public housing is become too expensive. So what are you going to do? Okay? On the table is this. You have 1.2 million units of completed property, of which 75% are HDB flats. Okay? And based on 90% home ownership in Singapore, a lot of people own their property. Okay? So what happened? If you're going to do something, you're going to come out with a policy, you cannot affect the majority of the homeowners. That means whatever policy you come up with should not cause property price to go down, because it will affect 1.2 million owners, which is going to be very unhappy with you. All right? So what do? They have to work on the supply side. All right? The supply side to address those people who make a lot of noise. I cannot buy flat, no money. All right? So they have been rolling out, okay, a lot of flats in the last couple of years. How much flat? Okay, 94,000. Almost 94,000 in the last 4 years. Okay, which then leads to our next question. Okay, at the pace which you roll out the flats, which has never seen before in the history of HDB, will you lead to an oversupply in the HDB market? All right, will we end up in a situation like we've seen before, where you have a lot of unsold flats? So the difference between now and then is this. Now we have this thing called built to order. Built to order. Where there's enough order, then we build. Right? So last time, why did we end up with so many vacant flats is they just built. They never take order. All right? So there's a change in the way the things is done. So right now, it's built to order. It's scalable. If the take-up rate slows down, basically they just slow down the BTO program. That's all. Okay, but this is a committed number. Okay, so by the end of this year, they will have launched a total of 25,000 flats. You total up everything is about 94,000. Okay, so question: will it lead to an oversupply? Okay, our take is this: if they sell a flat today, it takes 3 years to build. Give you the key, you have to stay 5 years before you can sell in the resale market. But not everybody that takes the key, stay 5 years, is going to sell at the same time. Right? So as long as population growth is happening, okay, which we have a plan to grow the population, okay, to 6.5 to 6.9 million, right, in the year 2030, all right, then we shouldn't have a problem. Okay, then we shouldn't have a problem. But if for whatever reason things slow down, then we may have some problem. All right? So no oversupply if population keeps pace, because we're going to increase basically also the PR population. We're going to increase the professionals, managers, and all that. So these will actually increase the demand for housing. Okay? So how do we then balance the market? Then they have to look at existing policies, all right, which they have put in place to balance the market. They're not going to bring down the prices. They're going to make sure prices are sustainable and manageable, not out of sync with the economy. Okay, so previously we had this problem of 60% loan to value ratio. Now is 80%. Okay, since January this year. That means if I'm an existing HDB flat owner, I want to buy before I sell, I can get an 80% loan. Okay, but the problem is this, if you're taking loan from a bank, you must fall into the existing TDSR framework, which later you'll learn a lot from Alfred. Okay. Second thing is this, the HDB has put in place what we call mortgage servicing ratio, all right, of 35% and 30% if you take from the bank. Again, this also must fit into the TDSR framework, which later Alfred will illustrate. Okay. Basically, in the resale market today, PR buyers will be paying 5% more than Singapore citizens. They have to pay ABSD, whereas we don't have to. All right? And then PRs are no longer allowed to sublet the whole flat. No more. All right? Previously, there was some abuse going on probably. Okay? So a lot of people buy PR. PR will buy a flat. They actually rent it out. They don't even stay in it. So they stopped this already. And PRs who buy private property must sell their flat. Okay? Singaporean don't need. Okay, so we still continue to do the same thing. Move into a condo, stay, rent out the HDB, if we can afford it. Okay, give a lot of incentives and priorities for people who are buying their new flats, all right, so that they can secure it. Okay, the other one is I want to show you, is this, okay, singles. For a very long time, singles can not buy new flats. They're not allowed to buy new flats. They only can buy from the resale market. So just started July this year, they allow singles to buy 2-room HDB flats. And I think it was widely covered in the news. It was overwhelming response. Okay, one flat in Sengkang has 72 buyers going after it. One flat in Yishun has 52 buyers going after it. So this is the ratio. Basically, it tells us a few things. Number one, singles want to buy their homes, number one. Okay, number two, we have a lot of singles. All right, we have a lot of singles. So now this, bear in mind, previously this group of people can only buy from the resale market. And if you look at the resale transactions in the market every month, about 20% of the resale transactions are sold to singles. That means out of every 10 flats, 2 flats are bought by singles. Okay. 2 flats are bought by singles. So now you attract this big group of people now to buy new home, new flats. Okay, because now the singles have seen, it's actually quite cheap. 76,000 to 120,000, cheaper than a car, cheaper than the COE for the car. You know? So how? Everybody will be going after the new flats. So nobody, very little singles will now want to buy from the resale market, unless they want a bigger flat. Okay, so what's going to happen? Less demand in the resale market. Less demand in the resale market. Okay, so again, another bomb, okay, but good news for buyers, okay, is that they are going to give special incentives to people who buy new 4-room flats. Okay, new 4-room flats. So how? The middle income is now going to be attracted to buy new 4-room flats with the subsidies that's going to be. All these haven't announced what's the detail yet. Probably the upcoming BTO we will know. Okay, so implication, again, more buyers are being drawn away from the resale market. Okay, so basically the price is very attractive. So impact, the grants will cool the resale market as more buyers turn to BTO, especially in a 4-room flat. Now, 4-room flat in the resale market is the most highly transacted one. Out of every 10 flats that's sold, almost half is 4-room flat. Okay, so now you're going to pull more buyers away from the resale market. Okay, for 4-room. What will happen? This is our outlook for the upcoming, in the near future. We expect COV to continue to trend downwards. When COV go down, resale price goes down. Resale price go down, valuation goes down. Valuation go down, it's like a tailspin. Okay? The next buyer will offer lower COV based on lower valuation, and etc., etc. So the price will keep trending downwards. Will it be a big dip? Will we see a big dip? Unlikely. Okay? Because there's a threshold in the market. There's a threshold in the market. If today I tell you you can buy a flat at valuation, will you buy? Some people will. All right? Why? Because I don't need to wait 3 years. Right? I don't need to wait 3 years. I'll buy it at valuation. Some flats are already selling below valuation. All right? The bigger ones, the bigger flats. All right? So unlikely you will see a big drop. Okay? So there will be still some COV in the market, but you'll see more buyers entering. So in the long term, all right, the market will even out. So in the short term, you may see it coming down. Okay, but in the long term, everything will balance out. So you don't have to worry about I'm an existing flat owner, will my HDB flat price plunge? Okay, but the thing to look out for is if you are selling your flat today and you have a serious buyer on hand, someone who's giving you a price, rather than holding it out and waiting for a higher price to come, which I think will be quite difficult in today's environment, I think if there's a price that which you can accept, all right, I would think you should do the transaction. All right, if you wait some more, it may be lower, no? Okay, in the days to come. So this is the impact. Okay, so let's look at some hotspots. To round off, let's look at some hotspots. I think a lot of interest was generated when this came up in the newspaper, the relocation of the Paya Lebar Air Base. Okay, a lot of excitement. Every day the reporter will call me, how, what you think? But this is going to happen in 20 years' time, no? All right, it's not going to happen tomorrow. Why? Because in order to relocate the airbase, they have to build the airbase first, in Changi. Haven't built yet. Nothing has happened. Okay, MINDEF have not confirmed the design yet. All right, haven't even designed the airbase. All right, so it's a 20-year project. All right, but it gives a lot of possibilities. All right, why? When you move the airbase out, you free up 800 hectares of land, which then can build a lot of stuff. Okay, a lot of properties will come out there. Okay, where you suspect it will be a good balance between HDB flats as well as private. Secondly, what's important is this, that the surrounding land, the height restriction will be removed. Okay, currently around the airbase region, you'll find that there are certain locations with height restriction. Even though the plot ratio is high, the height of the building cannot be high because of this height restriction. Okay, so this will be, when the airbase is relocated, those areas will benefit, okay, because they will have higher buildings and all that kind of thing. Okay, I think important to watch the master plan review, and this happens every 5 years. Basically, from this master plan review, we know the future of things to come. This year is the master plan review, 2013. Okay, the existing master plan that we are using is 2008. So this is the year for review. I think as we progress, more information will come out, but unlikely, I think they will release much information about the Paya Lebar region yet. Okay, so you have to probably watch it over time, every 5 years. Okay, we got 20 years. All right. Okay, the other thing to take note of is this government's decentralization policy, which looks something like this. We have a central area, and we want to have regional centers around the central area. Okay, and this basically, what it means, what is a sub-regional center? Basically, it's like a mini CBD. Okay, so example. Okay, and when you build the sub-regional centers, you need to actually link them up together with the rail network. And the rail network has already been announced, all right, that they will actually increase the number of rails, MRT stations, etc. By the time everything is completed, 8 out of 10 homes in Singapore will be within 10 minutes of an MRT station. All right, so next time, MRT is a must-have. No? If your home is not near MRT, then you better think carefully. All right. So the thing about it is that homes in and around regional centers are like mini CBDs, all right? So in and around CBD area, you will find that your values will command a premium, okay? Secondly, so they also identified sectors of growth. So the central area, the north region, the east region, and the west region. Okay, so essentially there are 4 regional centers. Number 1, Tampines already completed. That's why you see in Tampines today the homes command a premium. All right, it's high price. All right, the other day I was just having my lunch. This retiree came up to me and he said, "Hey, I'm very concerned. No, I bought a studio apartment in Tampines. How come my studio apartment I paid 110,000, 30 years lease, and then this government is now selling the 2-room HDB flat at 76,000. How come? All right, why? Because he bought his studio apartment in Tampines, and it's very, very convenient. The location premium, basically, you're comparing with 76,000, which is Sengkang or Yishun, right, with Tampines Central. Okay. Secondly, The other regional center will be the Lake District. Okay, we have seen how private property can sell out within one day. Okay, in this location. So there are many more projects to come. I think HDB homes in and around there will also appreciate with value. Okay, over time. How serious is the government with this place? MND itself is going to shift there. Okay, Ministry of National Development will occupy one building. All right. The other place is Woodlands Regional Center. Okay, so another next 10 to 15 years kind of project. Okay, Woodlands Central, another mini CBD within the Woodlands Regional Center. Other place will be Seletar Aerospace. Okay, all these are actually completed already. All right, so this actually will be a developing area. It's one of the northern growth areas which the government has identified. Okay, 2 sub-regional centers. There's a master plan for Paya Lebar. I think we should watch this closely because I think more details will come out as we come nearer and nearer to the relocation of the airbase. Right now, it's only a very small thing, all right, but I think more details will come out on the future development of this area. Okay, the other one is the research cluster at One North. Okay, so this is another one high growth area. There are 2 fringe centers, Kallang Riverside. Okay, if you look at the Kallang Riverside master plan, actually is a very comprehensive on the lower left, all right, just next to the stadium. Okay, you can see that actually a lot of commercial space is coming up in and around the region. So those people in Rochor, HDB that is being affected by the road widening, they're actually being offered flats in Kallang Riverside, which is within a sub-regional center. But the day I was just talking to a HDB, they say that these people don't want. A lot of them don't want to go there. They feel that they should get another place which is better. I think you're being offered something with, wow, that has what we call fireworks view. All right, you should consider. From here you can see all the things that's happening in the Marina Bay. All right. Novena is a fringe center. Again, and then the other one, there's a big thing is Punggol. Punggol, what you see today is only 1/3. All right, it's another 2/3. And a lot of the waterfront housing is only now going to start selling. What they've been selling is the, not waterfront. Okay, as per all developer, I sell you the not so attractive one first, the one higher price one later. Okay, so more waterfront housing coming up, okay, in Punggol area. Okay, the other one is next Bishan to be Bidadari. All right, end of this year, the earthworks will start. The infrastructure will be put into place. There's about 11,000 residential units identified for Bidadari area. Okay, and the difference between Bidadari and Bishan is Bidadari is even nearer to town than Bishan. Okay, so there's a lot of anticipation for this area. All right, to one day even be even more attractive than the current Bishan. Okay, so it's a proven formula. All right, all this. Okay, so that's about all I have. I think I'll hand you back to the MC. Thank you.